Hey everybody, this is Eric. I'm here in St. Augustine, Florida. I'm actually getting ready to start work here in a minute. Hopefully it's not too bright in my face. I tried to find an area that wasn't overwhelmingly filled with people today because on the weekends down here in St. Augustine, it is a very, very busy time. This is actually kind of considered our off season now, but as you can see, there's still a lot of people all around kind of behind me and stuff, so just gonna take a walk. I'm gonna be starting my tours here in just a little while, and I'm actually trying to decide whether or not I want to start doing kind of a daily thing here or not. So St. Augustine itself is the oldest city. And if you can see behind me is where the Castillo de San Marcos is, right over there. And that was the Spanish fort that was built starting in 1672, and they completed about 1694, made entirely of coquina. So I come here almost every day of the week doing paranormal tours and investigations and stuff, trying to figure out just sort of some interesting spots. Maybe I'll do a daily vlog each day for a different area that maybe I go to, or tell some of the history of it and stuff like that. So the walls themselves are 30 feet tall and 13 feet thick, and this fort has never been taken by siege. These walls are basically impenetrable to cannonballs. In 1702, the British actually were out here in the bay behind me on the other side of the seawall, and they came in with the purpose of taking St. Augustine. So they spent 4 solid months bombarding this fort, and you can see some of the holes that are all along here and everything, where they actually were firing on the fort for 4 solid months and were unable to take it. Now, after they gave up their sea siege, they actually came up on land and invaded the city itself, and that was one time of many that St. Augustine was actually burnt to the ground. I'm going to take you over to the executioner's wall, the main one. There's a couple areas that have a lot of shots, but this is the biggest one right here. So you can see behind me how riddled it is with the musket ball shots. And there's even some that are a little bit higher, because sometimes the executioners were tasked with shooting people that maybe they knew, or maybe that they were related to. So they would purposely miss, and they would fire higher. And when they were caught doing that, the officers in charge would actually come down, take the guns from them, and then put the person who's supposed to be doing the executing up against the wall and execute them right alongside the other prisoners. These dark areas here are actually drainage ports that you can see coming up through there, because the fort itself inside is 2 levels, and so that upper level has those drainage ports up there so that it can drain down the walls. And this is actually another little area right here. You can kind of see behind me where the bullet holes and everything are at from the musket firing. And this oven looking thing is exactly just that. That was the what was called a hot shot oven, and that was built by the US, and they used that to smelt iron down and create cannonballs. And then while the cannonballs were still hot, they would actually put them in the cannons that lined the seawall here on this east side wall. And basically the cannon balls themselves would act as an explosive incendiary. So anything that hit, when it hit, it would explode and burn anything that it touched. So that was in the 1800s they built that. Within this fort, there was actually 4 signers of the Declaration of Independence imprisoned. The wife and children of the Indian Geronimo was imprisoned here. There was also Osceola, who is chief of the Seminole Nation. He actually met with a bunch of his tribesmen thinking that they were going to be talking peace, and when they met, they were actually arrested and imprisoned here. Somehow, through a tiny little window on the other side of the fort, 19 of Osceola's tribesmen actually managed to escape the fort. Osceola himself came down with malaria, and he was sent to Fort Moultrie, South Carolina, where he died of malaria. At the time, there was a doctor here named Dr. Whedon, who later became the mayor of St. Augustine in the 1830s, and that doctor went up to Fort Moultrie, South Carolina, and actually beheaded Chief Osceola. There's lots of myths and legends and rumors associated with that whole story, but what he basically ended up doing was he beheaded Osceola and then brought his head back down to Florida and kept it. Apparently it was going to be originally for scientific study for the malaria virus and that sort of thing, but then it was used for other nefarious purposes, and he kept it as a curio for a number of years. And his house is actually down on Bridge Street down here in St. Augustine, and Dr. Whedon managed to keep it there, and the head in the jar, and actually put it on his grandchildren's nightstand at night in order to scare them. So he was an interesting guy. The house that he lived in has since been occupied by many other people, obviously, and from my understanding, at least 9 other people have committed suicide within that house. Some people that I work with have investigated it, and it in itself is not a very nice place. So at the top of the wall here, there's oftentimes people who see a residual haunting of either just a man or a man in uniform, or sometimes just an apparition walking around on the top of the wall. And a few weeks ago, when I was bringing my tour group out here, it was actually cordoned off by the police for that, because somebody had reported someone up on top of the wall. And of course, after them searching and everything, there was no one there. The National Park Service actually closes this down at night, so there's no way in or out of the fort except for the drawbridge in the front. And these walls, there's no real way to even scale them if you wanted to try to climb in here. This coquina is extremely sharp, so my guess is it would really just end up ripping off all your skin if you somehow manage to try to get up on the corners or something and not get caught. So until next time, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share to your friends, and come visit our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Westgate Paranormal. Really, if you just Google Westgate Paranormal, you'll see that all the links there. We do have a Patreon set up, so for those of you who would like to support us in paying for some of our research and equipment and travel and things like that for paranormal investigations, we'll also make some members only content available on our Patreon page. But pretty much everything else as far as updates and things like that are going to be going to our Facebook page itself, Westgate Paranormal, and then you can also find us on Instagram and under Westgate Paranormal as well. So until next time, thank you very much and happy hunting.